And happening now, the internet is, as you know it, may soon have some changes. The Federal Communications Commission voted today to end net neutrality, something supporters say makes internet use more fair. But critics of this new regulation say ending it means a more free internet. Depends on your point of view, apparently. Net neutrality was enacted under the Obama administration 2 years ago. It mandates that all traffic on the internet should be treated the same. Getting rid of net neutrality would change the rules and allow service providers to create so-called faster or slower lanes for subscribers. Professor Lee McKnight of the iSchool joins us now to sort this out a little bit and see what this really means for all of us who simply want to go online to find out information, stream a movie, just the regular stuff. Is it going to affect us in the future?
It will affect everyone in the sense that there will be a variety of new services possible. So that's, in a way, there's a positive side here that we can't quite foresee what new things will be created but are now enabled.
What's an example of a positive in terms of what could be created because of the new way of looking at the rules here?
Well, if without the Title II restrictions, having a bundled service in which, for example, your Netflix stream is provided at no extra cost, along with your mobile internet service, which is exactly the kind of service actually T-Mobile offers right now, that is now, so it's called a zero rating service. That violates, in theory, net neutrality rules and is somewhat controversial, but in fact, why is it a bad thing for T-Mobile to bundle, exactly Netflix with that? I'm not sure exactly. So having that more explicit, that it's okay to come up with bundled services where your data cap is not being affected, would make this legitimate for a range of what would, in this case, is called paid prioritization services.
Well, I think we can all relate to the data bill that you get, and especially if you've mistakenly in the wrong plan. That's
Yes.
been a big deal for years now, that you suddenly get the bill like, wow, we overused our data.
Right.
And so do you think that will be more common or less common?
Well, there will be incentive, just as in that example I gave, for people to offer services exempt from that data cap. So I'd expect a variety. And for the carriers, because there are 4 mobile carriers which you can switch, each of them is incented. They were sort of forced because of competition to all enact unlimited plans. Of course, they're not truly unlimited. There are some limits, but even Verizon that was trying to move away from that, which would be in a way anyway. So I believe they all have incentives to offer bundled services that they will now be able to without having to explain to the FCC or explain that it's somehow prohibited.
Is there something, we call it net neutrality. Is there a better thing to call it?
Well, the truth is there is no such thing as network neutrality. That's a fiction created by an esteemed Columbia University professor and promoted by one of my former grad students when he was with Google. Because how can you be against network neutrality? It's like you're admitting you're an axe murderer, right?
Sure.
If you're against it. But there is no such thing. There is an open internet order. That's exactly what was repealed today. That's what was enacted. So the open internet, that's what we all want. That's what we really need. A neutral network, this fiction created by different sides between the internet companies and the telecom companies to make it sound like you're an axe murderer if you're against it,
right.
is really truly a fiction, because nobody actually wants that. Does anybody honestly want a neutral network that includes spam and viruses and malware?
Right.
No,
No,
you don't want it. So you actually, and do you want your Netflix streams to have the audio and the video in sync?
Of course.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's something that you can only get by saying, you know what, that traffic needs to be treated a little differently than my text emails.
Interesting. There's so much to it, and so much that we all don't necessarily need to understand it just to use it. Correct?
That we can all use it without. That's partly why this mass confusion has been possible, because you all feel you're interacting with the application and the service without having to worry about the guts and the way it all works together. So and partly the problem is, however, even if people have this wrong analogy, we feel in our gut that we want access to the open internet, and any restriction feels like something vital is being taken away. So what we need going forward is new open internet legislation. The internet is bigger than the Federal Communications Commission. It's also the Federal Trade Commission. We need Congress to step forward to sort of protect our rights to the open internet, not forget about network neutrality.
Okay, well, gladly. I like the way you put it better tonight. Thank you, Professor McKnight from the iSchool at Syracuse University. Coming up on NBC3.